Welcome to another episode of The Boss Experience. My name is Michele Davis, and I'm here with special guest Kristen Summers. And Kristen is an international speaker. She's an entrepreneur. She's a coach. And the
list goes on.
list goes on, right?
Yeah.
And so today we're talking about anxiety and self-care in general, or and not just anxiety, but mental health, taking care of yourself mentally as an entrepreneur. And the strange thing about mental health is nobody wants to talk about it, but a lot of people are impacted by it or they're experiencing it. I've experienced anxiety throughout my life, and we feel like, I felt like it was like a secret that I had to keep. I can't tell anyone that I've know what it's like to be anxious, or that I know what it's like to have a panic attack. And all of the issues I had before entrepreneurship or before I started my business didn't go away just because I started a business. They stayed with me. Yeah, they stayed with me. So and it's something, the more and more I talked about it, the more and more I noticed it was in my family too. And everybody's silent and no one's talking about it. So no, everybody feels alone. And so I'm happy to have Kristen here to just, share, her, what she share, just coach you through, what
Yeah.
is, you know, that you're not alone. If this is what
No.
something you're experiencing, if it's not anxiety, maybe it's something else, but everybody, goes through something. And it's nice to know when you have people out there that know what you're feeling and what it's like. So, Chris,
Absolutely.
yeah. So, Kristen, it's interesting that you even chose this type of coaching,
It uh
yeah. What led
it
you to this? And
yeah,
share a little bit of, tell the audience who you are and,
sure. Yeah. I'll just start with, this was not my intention. So I'm gonna give you what my past life, what former Kristen was like. So former Kristen was very much follow the checklist. High school, college, get the degree, get a partner, get a guy, uh, marriage, kids, house, car, along with the debt that comes with it, all of that. And following that model. And what it was is, background journalism. I thought, I'm a writer. Don't put me on a podcast. Don't put me on TV. That type of thing. It's very, I say former Kristen, and I very much honor and love and respect her, but she's not there anymore, through my own personal work of the last 5-6 years. So what it was is that I took something that was very, it's sad. Mothers who go through postpartum depression, incredibly common, incredibly common. Um, and I took something of that experience and turned it at what's the company that I have today. Of being an international speaker and a self-care coach. So a lot of my stuff that I do, it's very much altruistic, because my journalism background made me want to give back in some way, right? So I'm given, and this is actual journalism, not what journalism kind of is now. This is early 2000s, okay? So that journalism was a little more of fair and balanced, and provide information for people to make decisions, right? To have them form opinions. And I was content with that. And then my daughter was born. I had the birth control shot. And what I found out was, if you already have a little bit of the baby blues, the first couple of weeks where you're just trying to get your bearings and figure out what's going on. There's a tiny human now that wakes up every 2 to 3 hours and needs me. You're responsible for someone else. Then, there's that aspect of it. I go in there, want some sort of birth control. They said, here's the shot. And what happened was, I had a little bit of baby blues, and the shot exacerbated it. So it made it 10 times worse. So I was diagnosed with severe postpartum depression and anxiety with OCD tendencies. So I even had to look into that aspect. Some people were talking about the depression and anxiety from postpartum, but in an OCD aspect that I didn't even know I had.
A couple of questions. Wait, before, is that even known that shot, can
Can make it.
exacerbate postpartum?
Yeah, They told me before I had the shot, they did tell me there's a 2% chance that this could happen. But you know what? The more and more I share my story, there's a lot of women that say, whether it's the shot or birth control after having a child and then immediately going on some sort of birth control, kind of messed with them chemically in their body. And especially with the birth control shot, a lot of it is progesterone, especially whenever you're pregnant. My 2 boys were preemies. Thankfully, not a lot of complications. My daughter was the only one that was full term. She's the only one that listened. I like to just joke about that and say, you know what? She's a woman. She listened. The other 2, they're men, they're boys. They did not listen. But it's one of those things where they did tell me that. I just thought, I'm a tired mom of 3. So they did give me that. But what they said afterwards was the most disheartening, was just very much, they said, oh, well, yeah, we warned you this could happen. I'm sorry. Here are some pills and best of luck. So I had no experience in mental health self-care. Like you said, was not talked about. Postpartum was not talked about at all, let alone just having anxiety just for being a human being. And so the first year I did what mainstream self-care is, which is face mask, bubble bath, eat healthy, cut out your carbs, cut out your fat, whatever diet.
Drink some water. Drink some water.
Drink some water, and just go work out. Just go run yourself to death on the treadmill and you'll be fine. I'm not gonna lie, those things do help, but it is kind of like almost like a ritual. I like to say it in that aspect instead of like a routine. Routine feels very much like it is very much, okay, 10 o'clock I do this, 11 o'clock I do that. It feels very structured. And so I tell people I'm about building the self-care toolkit, or helping you find a kind of a ritual, so to speak, that's a little more fluid, that works for you, because what you do for yourself one day might not work the next day. That takes a lot of self-awareness of knowing what you need and asking yourself, what do I need in this moment? And then listening to that quiet inner voice, not the voice that says, oh, I need a bottle of wine, or I need this or that. No, that quiet voice that says, I need some time to myself. I need to go journal, or I need to take a nap. Just go lay down, or even just go rest for an hour. Just go lay down for an hour, play some chill music, set the timer, close your eyes. If you fall asleep, great. If not, just try to empty your mind and just relax. So they came in and just said, here you go. And so like I said, I tried mainstream self-care, and my daughter hit 1, and I had a major panic attack. We're on vacation in Nashville, and I thought I was going to die. And so something just clicked in me and said, Kristen, you have this beautiful, inquisitive mind, journalistic, again, that is, that teaching of journalism, so to speak, is you're a researcher. You're taking information and you're regurgitating away for the average reading level for people to understand, so they can make decisions and form opinions. So it's like, you're a researcher. Start researching this. This is total BS. There has to be more than this. So I did. I scheduled a therapist. I actually went to the doctor about medication because I was so scared about the side effects of antidepressants and anxiety meds that deterred me, because nobody was talking about it. Everybody was talking just about, oh, you should be so happy. Yes, I am happy that I have 3 children. I'm very lucky that I have 3 healthy children. That doesn't take the fact of it's a major life change. And so there's no book that tells you like, this is how you do that. Because guess what? It's different for everyone. We process things differently. We respond to trauma differently. So essentially, I just started researching the mind from various aspects. So I'm a spiritual person. So I read books about spirituality and mental health, the psychology aspect, the anatomy of the brain. Where does anxiety live? It lives in your amygdalas. And those that have anxiety, when you do scans, their amygdala is bigger. It shows up more. So I just started researching. And so I'm drinking my water, I'm working out. I started practicing more of an intuitive eating, and just again, practicing mindfulness in every area of my life. So exercising, eating, everything. And a lot of my stuff does go through teaching mindful self-compassion, because what I have found through my own struggles and things like this that I've come through of this last 5-6 years of being where I was to being where I'm at now, self-compassion was the biggest component of forgiving myself when I slipped up, when I forgot to do this or whatever it may be, and being my own friend. And because we talk to our friends a different way than we talk to ourselves. And so like being my own best friend, falling in love with myself. So I started to take myself out on dates. I'm like, I'm going to romance myself. Now at the time I was married. And so I'm going through this journey of just trying to work a 9-to-5 job because I'm not an entrepreneur yet, and work on myself and give myself the compassion when I slip up. Because when you're working through something, especially like with me, when you've got a shot that's messing up your hormones and your chemicals, you can't control it. So what can you control, right? And it was just my attitude of really building this confidence and this passion of knowing that I'm worth doing hard things for, and this is a process, but I'm worth the process. I'm worth this, and my life is very much worth doing. And I'm very glad that I had the emotional awareness. I'm very much glad that I knew that I needed help, and I wasn't going to let it just turn me into this shell of a person. So what happened is I'm going through all this myself. And then I get an idea for a self-care rewards app, which is my app. It's bootstrapped. It's something that's just, it is a side project, and we are looking for investors right now. But the main focus is my company, which is building a self-care empire of education and awareness and empowerment. So I come up with the app idea. That led to me kind of just putting it out there. That led to people like, hey, why don't you come on stage and tell us your story? To me, figuring out that public speaking was a way of healing. It was cathartic. Every time I shared my story, I felt like a little bit of piece of me kind of healed, kind of put kind of my heart together, so to speak, because I was putting it out there and people were waiting to talk to me after my speeches, saying, me too. Oh my gosh, I'm not alone. Absolutely not. So a lot of my work that I've done with the research that I've done, is around taking gender and taking everything out of the equation. Okay. We are all the same mind. We all have our brain, same parts of it. So taking race, taking gender, everything out, and literally just look at the mind. We're all the same mind. Well, guess what? It's all essentially the same. We all have anxiety. We all get anxious with panic attacks. We all get sad at times, depression. We all have it in some way. And I honestly think that everyone has got something. The numbers say I think it's 1 in 4 now. But those are the people that come forward. How many people don't come forward? So in my opinion, life just sometimes kind of handles things and you have to process it. So you have grief. And there are things we go through that some of those responses are 1000% normal, because again, we're not given this handbook. Here's your book. And then you just have to oh, this is what I do. It doesn't work like that. We're way more complex than just a to-do list. I have to do this, this, and this. Trust me, I did the checklist and I was miserable. I had everything. And on the inside, I see now that I was screaming to get back to me, who was more of a creative and free spirit. And I'm really fortunate that between the app led to the public speaking, which led to the coaching, that I had the courage and compassion and confidence to move forward with this. And now my business is kind of expanding to some really exciting avenues. And I know now that greatness is on the other side of fear. Everything I want is on the other side of fear. Fear is normal. But when I push past that fear, I see it, I embrace it, and I go around it to whatever I need to work on and take those actionable steps. It creates a rolling effect, kind of a snowball rolling fire of good things. It's like, oh, well, I did this, which led to this, which led to this. And it just becomes positive, 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 all because I took that step and said, okay, I see you, fear, but now I'm going to do this. And I'm going to keep going. You don't control me. You're always going to be with me. Buckle up, buddy. You're my best friend now. Let's go, fear. Let's go, anxiety. Let's go, depression. Let's go. We got this. You'll be fine. And let's go. Or I like to also use the analogy of the car. Like, okay, I see you, fear. I see you, anxiety. I see all these things. That's normal. But guess what? You're going to sit in the back seat. You're not going to adjust the radio. You're not going to adjust the temperature. You're going to sit back there, buckle up, and you're just going to look out the window and you're going to let me drive this car and let's go do things. So that is kind of how it kind of came to be is, yeah, I did not want to be an entrepreneur. Like it wasn't even in my radar. It was like, the idea of business sounded just kind of like, ugh, that's just not me. I'm just going to be a writer and have my kids and be happy. And my kids are part of my purpose, but we are multi-purpose people. We're multifaceted. And when I started to take those labels off me, I thought, well, maybe I can do this. And it became why am I doing this to why not? And why not approach it? And of a life I saw where I had a lot of regret and resentment in my past life. And so this next chapter that I'm on now, this next life, even if I explore a business opportunity and it doesn't pan out, I'd much rather have that and have that lesson from the failure than to have complete regret and what ifs. Because when you have anxiety, what if can literally deteriorate you in so many. And then you've got analysis paralysis. So you're not even making any sort of moves, right? And it's got you stuck because you're stuck in the what if. So you don't even make any sort of move. And not making a move, is a choice. So it's one of those things where, I kind of came into it through my own experience, started doing my own research and finding out that mainstream self-care and real self-care were really different. And a lot of my stuff is a more holistic, it does have a bit of spirituality approach meets psychology. Because psychology actually proves that spirituality is actually quite beneficial. In fact, they say you believing in something higher than yourself, whatever you want to call that, it's actually better for your mental health overall. And so however you want to approach that, I just tell people, just believe it in something bigger than yourself, believe it in yourself, but knowing that you are co-creating with the universe, with God, angels, whatever, however you want to identify it, but knowing that you're not alone even in that aspect is really beneficial for your mental health as well. So yeah, that's how I came into it. And I absolutely love every bit of it. And some days I'm an empath, so I get a little emotional thinking about it. And that's why I do what I do. Because if I can help people, I can't take away their pain, but if I can help alleviate or awaken them to see that they can have some tools that they don't have to suffer so much in life and things with a little bit of work and sometimes a lot of work, and they're worth the work, you can have the life of your dreams. You really can have it. It takes discipline, like I said, compassion and confidence and courage, but it's very much possible because we are limitless.
So I know the audience is probably, they're listening to your story and they're like, wow, Kristen, that's crazy. That's that's a lot. And then you have some that are saying, oh, I can relate to that. Something
Yeah.
similar happened to me. And I heard you mention like some common things that were helpful to you through your whole journey of healing. And one thing was there's no one size fits all when it comes to what works for you with self-care or anything for that matter. Everything is individualized, and there's some instances where you may go to someone to get help getting that individualized help because you can only get so much online and so much through your reading. So for anyone who's wondering, how do I know what to do? I'm trying to build this business, but the anxiety, the fear, all of that is overcoming me. How do I know what's going to be right for me to get all of these feelings under control?
Right. A lot of it is just emotion regulation. So regulating your emotions in some way, because we all have them. We're humans. So there's a gradient scale of emotions and we're going to have them. And a lot of it takes, like I said, for mindfulness. So first of all, self-awareness. So you're aware, hey, something's going on that I just don't like. It doesn't make me feel good. It's not beneficial. A lot of people with anxiety have rumination, where they just kind of just ruminate about the same thing over and over again, kind of like a hamster wheel. And it's hard to get off that hamster wheel, especially if you've been on it for a while. So it takes, first of all, the self-awareness, which is huge because you're not going to make any sort of change unless you're actually aware that there's an issue. And then it essentially kind of takes getting to know yourself. Like I said, kind of dating myself and just not tackling it all at once. Trust me, I did it where I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get rid of my anxiety. Well, what we resist or what we try to like shove down and push away, it persists. And when I discovered meditation and mindfulness, realizing that I could close my eyes and I could visualize my anxiety apart from me, because it's not me. It's in my brain. You can get scientific and say, well, this chemical is higher than this one. But essentially, it's not even really even a part of me. It's just there at this moment in time. And I found once I started to visualize that it was separate from me, and sometimes my anxiety I would visualize as a color or a shape, or sometimes for my kids, I tell them to visualize your anxiety on your shoulder. Usually it's the color green, and then you're flicking it off. So I'm really big with my coaching stuff is a lot of visualization, a lot of visualizing, using the imagination to heal yourself. And so visualizing my anxiety outside of me. And like I said, okay, I'm seeing your anxiety. You are not me. I see you. I see why you're here. But is there really any truth to any of this? Because a lot of it is actual partial truths, or there's no truth at all. And that anxiety was put there from a past experience that didn't go the way that we anticipated. It didn't go, a lot of frustration is unmet expectations. We have subconscious expectations we don't even know about. This is why with relationships, when they get together, people kind of start to well, why rub me the wrong way? Well, you have an expectation you might not even know about that you expect from your boyfriend or girlfriend. And that just takes time of knowing yourself. And you honestly, you don't really even know till you're in the relationship that it might even be there. I tell a lot of people like are dating and doing business stuff, like I'm going to focus on this and this. I'm like, they're not dating because they want to focus on their career and their growing and healing. You're going to get to a certain part of your healing, but you're not going to get to like the next level until you're actually in a relationship. Because then there's going to be parts that are going to show up. They're like, wait a minute, I thought I was healed. It's a lifelong journey of self-discovery, which should be exciting, not daunting. The fact that like, I'm putting in the work, I'm going to take my time with myself, give myself that compassion, right? And I'm going to do what I can every day to move myself forward in my business. So I saw a lot of people that have, I'm talking type of a depression where they can't get out of bed type of depression. I've had clients like that. And I tell them, you know what? If you grab your phone and you send that one email, if you schedule that one call, if you update your website, even you share your website just for a couple of minutes, if you've done something to move your goal, your dream forward with your business, then you're doing something. Because there are a ton of people that have ideas for businesses and don't even have the courage to start them. That I've got this idea and then they never do it. And then they wake up and they're 30 years later and they regret not exploring that. Even like I said, even if it doesn't work out, it always leads to something. It leads to a lesson. It leads to something better. I teach a program called the 5 Pillars, and one of them is mental self-care. And that's also realizing that we need some things and hobbies for ourselves. That's hard as an entrepreneur. Also, if you're a parent, when am I going to find time for myself? But when you start doing that awareness and kind of date yourself and think, I like this, I like that. For me, painting, I love painting. I have no intention of selling my paintings. Yes, my kids are very sweet and think I should, mommy, put them on Facebook and sell them. No, babe, this oil painting is from mommy alone. But that's something for me that I carve out to do for myself. But because I did that, ended up being cathartic, which actually helped with my anxiety. So anybody that has anxiety, I will say, if you can do something with your hands, pay attention to your anxiety in that moment. Are you anxious in that moment when you're doing your makeup, or maybe you're crocheting or painting? You're not. Why? Because your brain is focused on what's in front of you and you're using your hands. And so by painting, I started to work with my anxiety and realizing, oh my gosh, so my anxiety isn't all the time, because my depression tells me it's all the time. I'm always anxious. But it turns out I'm not. And when I paid attention to the moments that I wasn't anxious or I wasn't depressed, and I started to become aware of these moments that made me happy, I would kind of write them down kind of in a gratitude journal of like, when I play with my kids, I'm not even thinking my depression or this to-do list that I gave myself that's completely unrealistic, because we have unrealistic expectations of ourselves, especially if you're an entrepreneur. We think we have to do everything all the time. And so starting kind of track of these things, like, oh, that does make me happy. And then just trying to do more of it. Again, giving myself that compassion of not I should be out of the vocabulary, not I should do this or I should have done that. It's like, okay, I wasn't supposed to learn about this until now. Now that I know what I know, I'm going to use it more moving forward. I didn't know it in the past because I wasn't supposed to know it then, but I know it now. So I'm going to use this to move forward in some way. So I tell people, one small step every day, and then use that to build, even write it down, like, what are my successes for the day? And give yourself, it could just be getting out of bed and getting dressed and taking a shower. That in itself can be that is something to be celebrated. A little win, a win. Big, small, doesn't matter. We define what that looks like. So it's one of those things where I tell people, give yourself some slack, one thing at a time, and to just take the time to get to know yourself. I mean, as a woman, I have to think at times when I would watch a certain movie or a genre. For example, I hate scary movies. I'm the biggest chicken alive. I'm not afraid to admit it. But I would watch scary movies. Well, why am I putting myself through that?
If you already have anxiety.
Have anxiety. Also be mindful of what you're ingesting information. There's a reason why people were anxious, why they watch the same stuff over and over again, is because they know the ending is predictable. With anxiety, it's a lot of what if happened and what if it doesn't go out the way I think it's going to go. So a lot of people with anxiety watch the same shows over and over again because they know how it's going to go. So yeah, you're in a horror movie and there's a lot of surprises or whatever. And I thought, gosh, why am I doing this? Because then it's giving me nightmares. It was. Then I realized of my people pleasing tendencies and the people around me. I was just trying to be the cool girl that just kind of goes with the flow. Yeah, you want to watch a scary movie? Cool. Now it's very different. Now I can say, with a bit of assertiveness, but still not coming off. There's this thing, I'm sure that if a woman's assertive, she comes off being a bitch. She comes off being this or that. And like, no, I am still a very kind, compassionate person. I don't like the word nice. I'm a kind person. And so it's like, okay, you know what? We watched that last time. I think let's do something funny instead. And all you got to do is just make a little suggestion. I'm like, well, yeah, let's watch something funny or something slightly romantic. Or if they really want to watch a scary movie, I'll be like, you know what? That's fine. I'm not really feeling the scary movie or whatever. So I'm going to go do X, Y, Z. I'm going to go watch funny TikToks or something, like whatever it may be. And yeah, realizing what sets your anxiety off. So realizing first what makes you happy, where your anxiety isn't. And then you can start to see where your anxiety shows up. Meditation is great for, especially when you do body scan meditations that makes you focus on your body, then you can start seeing where your anxiety actually is placed. A lot of women, it's placed on our shoulders. We like to hold our anxiety there. But there's other parts of our body where we can actually hold trauma and anxiety and depression. And so it is, I know I'm giving a lot of tips, but it's one of those things where when you start doing just a little bit of work and a little bit of awareness and just starting to pay attention, snowball effect. And then it's like, oh my gosh, okay, all right, well, scary movies make me anxious. I'm just going to quit watching scary movies, or I'm going to quit watching the news. I'm just going to get my news on this platform and not this platform, and start realizing that there's going to be bad days and so days. But if I could help myself to have better days, because I deserve good days, I deserve successful days, whatever success looks like to me, I'm going to do what I can to make sure that happens, because I deserve that and I'm worth that. And when you start doing it, people pay attention. And it also kind of creates, I've noticed with me, that people want to hang out with me more. They're like, hey, you don't seem as anxious, or, whatever it may be. And again, it's normal to be anxious. I think, honestly, if you don't have something, what are you doing? Because I don't feel like you're human if you don't have anxiety, you don't have depression, you don't have days of imposter syndrome, you don't have days, if you're just kind of questioning, like, what the hell am I doing? That's okay. None of us really know what we're doing. We're just all kind of winging it. And that's what makes it great. Mm-hmm. We can just grab each other's hands and let's just go together. We're walking down this path. We don't know what's going to happen, but you know what? We've got each other and we're not alone. And that makes all the difference. And that's why I started my business, is because I want people to know that they're not alone and that there's so much out there, and that they just have the right tools to shift their mindset, totally change their life for the better.
Absolutely. And I think one important thing that people don't take enough time to do in general, and it doesn't stop when you're an entrepreneur, is the importance of clearing your mind and really getting all of those, thoughts that are swirling around in your head, making you more anxious, on
Right.
paper. And I just did a podcast episode on journaling and just, it's just, you just got to get it on paper because you have all this, you're overthinking, you got all this swirling around in your mind, and it's not healthy. It's not good. It's not, you're not propelling yourself forward by overthinking and, having all these thoughts in your mind. You said a few key things. You said many things, in the tips, but um,
And trust me, because I love this so much.
yeah, I think, people taking the time to get to know yourself.
Yeah.
And, it's so important because you're so focused on, your family, taking care of their needs. People don't really, and it sounds really crazy, but people don't know themselves. They don't take the time.
They don't. No.
Yeah. They don't take the
Yeah.
time to say, who am I? What do I like? What am I passionate about? What interests me? What movies do I like? What is my favorite movie? Not my husband's favorite movie, not the favorite movie for the kids. What is my favorite movie? What do I enjoy doing? What, is this really the business I want to create, or am I just creating something because someone else said it was popular and trendy online and I could make a lot of money? So now I have anxiety and I'm frustrated because I'm not making any money. But they told me this would make me money. So why? Yeah.
Yeah, I get that with like affiliate marketing. I'm not knocking that at all. That's my passion, my interests just are not there. I feel like that's great for some people is one of those where, yeah, you get pitched of come on and so you can do this. I'm like, yeah, that's great. That can make me money. But I also know that studies show that actually that much money, when you get to a certain threshold of money, doesn't make you any happier, actually. And so I'd much rather do something else, build from the ground up and have more fulfillment, filling my cup that way, leading with love in my heart, than leading with my mind and the more analytical side and the more masculine side of myself, which is make money, which is the do, and the feminine energy is the be. And it's like, we get society is like, go, go, go. Everyone has to have a side hustle. Everyone has to have 5 side hustles, whatever it may be. That's why I like mental self-care with my courses. It's like, hey, no, not everything you love, you have to sell. You can just do it because you do it. And who knows, it might make you money down the road. And a lot of people that are artists, glasswork, whatever it may be, just did it because they loved it. And then next, someone bought a piece, came to their house, bought a piece. And then next, now they have a but no intention to start a business. Sometimes I think that's the most beautiful thing. So when you do start a business, I say really, really hone your why. Why are you doing this? If you're doing it to make money, that's okay, but that cannot be your main reason, or you will burn out and then you will hate the business. And you don't want to create something that you hate. You're hoping you create something that you'll love and you want to do. Even if the business pivots, you have to redo your plan, or maybe it takes to a different direction, which is how I got into being a sex coach, as I call a sex vibe guide is what I call myself. And like, that was because people were coming to me for the self-care aspect and connection self-care of my 5 pillars is how you connect with people in your relationships. So it's not just the relationship, but how do I respond? How do I show up in my relationship? And how do I want to show up in my
So
relationship?
this is one of your pillars in your coaching program.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Okay.
yeah. So,
So let's start at the beginning. What are the 5 pillars of your
sure.
coaching program?
So my 5 pillars is practical self-care. That is your financial, your adulting, your cleaning. They're all connected, but I've broken the different areas of our life into 5. So practical self-care, emotional self-care, which that includes journaling. That's that emotional work, which to me, honestly, is the most important work. There's the physical aspect, taking your medications, sleep, all that aspects of that. Connection self-care, that's how we show up in our relationships and how we connect with persons, place, or things outside of ourselves. That's also the nostalgia aspect of it. And then we've got that mental self-care, like I've kind of been talking about, of your mind is a muscle. Okay. And neuroplasticity shows us that we are lifelong learners. And so our brain isn't done at 27 or done at 22. When we realize that we can retain information and learn new things throughout our entire life, it opens up for us so many things. And that mental self-care is knowing yourself and flexing that mind. So, like I said, the painting, which might lead to photography, which might lead to, who knows, doing boudoir stuff. For me, self-care stuff, love doing that. Didn't plan on being a coach. Now people come to me about relationships and sexual self-care. So then that led to me to being a sex coach, which I also love that work now too very much. Because my why is strong. And my why, like I said, if I can help people just kind of have awaken, have that aha moment of and empower them and gives them some tools to move forward in their life, then I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Then that really fulfills me. So but those are the 5 pillars. And so when you're talking about connection, self-care, it is kind of how you show up in your relationships. And a lot of people don't think about that. They're like, well, yeah, I'm just here. I'm like, no, but how do you want to be? And you don't realize you might be kind of giving in. And yeah, you know your husband's favorite movie, but do you know your own? Do you even, and if you don't, that's okay. I know we can get really hard on ourselves of the should. I should know my favorite movie. Well, no, take shit out of the vocabulary. Just take it out. And just be like, okay, well, I don't know yet. And yet it's a great thing to add to anything. I'm not, or right now, I'm not good at math right now. As someone like me as a creative, I am more inclined on that aspect than the financial aspect. So I used to say, I'm terrible at math. I can't run a business. I can't do spreadsheets. I hate that stuff. Well, then I taught myself basically sometimes you have to do things you don't want to do that as interest you to move your business forward. So how can I allocate that time, get in the right mind frame, knock it out in 30 minutes or an hour, and then I can go do what I want to do instead of being anxious about it and it ruminating in my brain all day. And then it's a whole day and I didn't even get it done. And so, with that, it does. It takes just getting to know yourself, and you should, and you're going to evolve. I say this is Kristen version 2.6 right now, and that we're like our phones. You plug us in every night. We update because we get so much information fed to us, more than our ancestors ever did. And then we're somehow supposed to process it and decide what we, stick with and what we don't. And most of our thoughts are actually false. They're a false truth or even a partial truth that we take as 100% true. And so you have to kind of like very nicely kind of check yourself and be like, okay, well, I don't know my favorite movie yet, but I'm going to find out. And then go through a movication, just off the top of your head, list 5 movies that you kind of like, watch them and kind of think about why you like them. Mm-hmm. We don't think, why do I like spinach? It's okay if you like spinach because your mom made you eat spinach. That's okay. And you still like it. That's all right. You don't have to give up spinach, but at least you know like why you like it. Oh, well, I like it because of this, because our parents are our greatest teachers, are ones of the most impactful teachers. And this is what's it's scary, but it's when you know it, then it makes you feel better. Most of our beliefs, those partial truths and half truths I talked about, are formed by age 10. By age 10, psychologists say you have an idea of how you think relationships work, how money works, how you make money, how you show up in the world, what's possible for you. Can you really do whatever you want? You can, but unfortunately by 10, you're starting to see your parents' limiting beliefs. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, like for instance, my dad was a railroader. My dad's a railroader. He's an engineer for the Union Pacific Railroad. My brothers thought maybe they should do it because my dad did it. And they're just all like, well, he did it. So you know what? And it pays good insurance, so I should do it. And I'm like, do you really want to do it? Or it's because it's a good job with insurance, mm-hmm. which is going to go that route. Don't discredit knowing yourself because you're multifaceted and you don't have to be one thing. I'm not just a mom. I'm not just an entrepreneur. I'm not just a girlfriend, a mother. I'm so much more than that. And so yeah, one of the greatest loves we can experience is self-love. And when we start to just take to know ourselves, then it does feel empowering. It's like, okay. And people will tell me, they're like, you know yourself. I'm like, yeah, because I've dated myself. I've done the work. Mm-hmm. Like, I know what I like and don't like. And if I don't know, then I just say, I don't know. I don't like fit. I'm like, oh, yeah, I can't. I'm like, you know what? I haven't tried that yet. I haven't tried that type of sushi yet. I may not want to try it now, but maybe next time. And it does. And because with relationships, especially, and then you've got a business, especially if you're in a relationship and you're in a business together, that adds a whole different component. We tend to kind of like think we need to be one. Well, actually a healthy relationship is a healthy dose of codependency and independence, which you form together, which is called interdependence, which means you have yourself inside your relationship and you have yourself outside the relationship. This is why when people break up, I don't know who I am. Well, of course you don't, because you merge in as one. on and thought who you were in the relationship is the only person you are. That's your only identity. So that's why I tell people, date yourself. Yeah, you can be in a relationship. You can love yourself just as much as you love your husband. Actually, you should honestly love more, to be honest, way more. But yeah, date yourself. Like a lot of women don't like to go have dinner by themselves. Ladies listening, take yourself out on a lunch date by yourself. No one cares if you're by yourself. Everyone is selfish. Everyone is thinking about themselves. They're not thinking about, here's this woman by herself eating sushi. Go to your favorite place, eat the food, savor the food, say why you love it so much. And then like, you know what? Girl, good for you. You took yourself out for sushi. And then maybe that, well, maybe now I'll go hit up some thrift stores. Or maybe, yeah, I feel good because I did this for myself. So now I'm going to go home and work on my business, right? Mm-hmm. You've already created that positive of loving yourself. And we have this limitless well. When we tap into that, we can tap that love. When we lead with love, it leads to so much more success and fulfillment in our businesses, not just the financial aspect, but just filling our hearts with something that we know that we've worked at and that we can own because we've done it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's and fulfilling, but it does take a little bit of knowing yourself and just kind of, that's a good springboard is do something for yourself, thank yourself for doing it for yourself, and then use that. You're feeling good, use that energy into your business, or use that energy to go spend more time with your kids. Maybe you've been grinding on your business. You're like, you know what? Took myself out to lunch, but now I want to grab the kids. We're going to go to the park. Mm-hmm. And then you go to the kids and you go to the park. And then you just like, you know what? Okay, I spent all afternoon taking myself out to lunch, took the kids to the park, got them some pizza and ice cream, came back home. And now everyone's kind of chilling out. I'm going to go journal, or, you know, maybe I'm going to go work out or whatever, maybe. And yeah, you took that half day, but trust me, you didn't really miss out on that much money on that half day. Because when you start pushing your business and when you lead with fear and a scarcity mindset, you're not going to feel good. And also you're not going to make those sales, because then you're going to come off and you're going to rub people the wrong way because they're going to feel that energy. They're like, okay, this person's kind of pushy. I don't want to work with them.
And they're desperate. They're desperate. Yes.
Nothing good comes from it. And it's like, okay, if I step into my feminine energy and just be me, enjoy my kids, enjoy myself, enjoy my partner, and then I fill up my cup, I've got much more energy and motivation the next day to lead with love, to go out and kick ass in my business, because guess what? I'm in a good place mentally and I'm not desperate. And I know that if I put in the right amount of work, and again, that depends on the person. So I'm not saying like grind. I don't believe in this whole grind 24/7 thing. But if we manage our time, we can be just as productive in 2 hours than we could in 8 hours if we just take care of ourselves. Focus. Okay, I spent the time on myself. I feel good. Now I can focus. If you feel kind of like you're scatterbrained, you get all these things on your mind, I tell people, make a priority list, but make sure you're on that priority list. Make sure you're doing something, even if it is a bubble bath. Or I love the color red. I'm in Kansas City. We're going to go to the Super Bowl. I'm confident in that. But this week, you know, we got one game to the Super Bowl. I'm wearing red. Red also looks good to me, empowering. When I wear my favorite color, I feel better. That's because I take the time to know my favorite color. I took the time to know what I feel good in and how I like my makeup to look every day if I choose to wear makeup. Or I love your lip color, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Like a little, even something. So it doesn't have to be like we're, oh my gosh, I got to go out and buy a camera and I got to do a face mask. I got to book a spa day. Those are fine, but that's not going to get to the root. It's that everyday things that you think are mundane. Pay attention to how you get ready in the morning. Think about what you're putting on and feel good about it. Like, okay, I feel good. I feel empowered. And tell yourself that I feel empowered in this color. I feel good in this. I look sharp as hell. You know what? And I might just be doing the kid stuff today, but at least I'm going to look good at the park for myself. And if
Absolutely.
I look, that energy comes out. And again, it attracts. It's magnetic. When you lead with authenticity and you feel good, you lead with love, people notice. And then you're having the conversations that can move your business forward. Because if you're coming out with desperation, people know when they're being pitched and it's salesy, you don't feel good. And honestly, with your business, if you come with the right why, if you got that solid, you're not selling your business. You're not actually selling. You're solving problems. You're providing value. So I tell people,
so important.
Yeah. Like I'm not selling my course. I'm providing value. I am someone that's help solving problems, helping people move forward in their lives, because guess what? I want them to do better. That's the type of person I am, is I want everyone to succeed because they deserve it and they should. And
Absolutely.
I can use should in that instance, but yeah.
So a few things as we close out. I want to just kind of do a quick recap
Yeah.
of, because you said a lot. It was a lot.
I
So
know.
I just want to kind of see if I do a good job at kind of doing a recap for you. And then we're going to tell people where they can find you. And then we're going to talk about the special gift you have for audience listeners, uh, for your course. So
Yeah.
my version of your recap, just to kind of bring everything home for everyone, when it comes to kind of reining yourself in when you're experiencing anxiety, you want to recognize that you have a problem. You may not know exactly what the problem is, but you want to say, you know what, there's something here, there's something I need to address. So let me get some help. Let me get a third party or a second party involved to kind of help me sort through this. And then there's not allowing your anxiety or your depression to be a part of your body. So thinking of your body as just yours, it's something you want to be very selfish about, and you don't want this fear and this anxiety to take over. Think about Kristen's example of the car. Yeah, you're going to ride in the car with me, and that's okay, but you're going to sit in the back seat and you're going to be quiet and shut up. And you're going to look out the window. So not letting that fear and anxiety control you. Then the other thing is clearing your mind, getting into the habit of clearing your mind, making sure that you get clarity, you get all that junk, everything that you've absorbed throughout the day, you clear your mind, and you either journal, you meditate, you do what makes you feel good. And then there is getting into the practice of using that anxious energy and grounding yourself, using your hands, getting into the habit of, touching, or, for Kristen, she paints. But for you, maybe it's grabbing a bag of rice and touching it, or, getting, using your senses in other ways than to stress yourself out. And did I miss anything?
No, that essentially is it. And you hold all the power. You are a powerful being. You really are. And just some even little tweaks like that can make all the difference. Like I said, because once you start, it becomes a rippling effect. And it's just like, okay, I can do this. And then honestly, it just builds your confidence. Confidence is a skill. And then you find yourself a little more, standing up a little bit taller. You
Mhm.
find feeling good about decisions that you make, also feeling good when you make a decision that doesn't pan out the way you wanted to, and then able to bounce back from that. So the emotional resiliency of that, emotional regulation of that sale didn't go the way I wanted, or they didn't like what I had to offer. That's one person. There's 8 billion people on this planet. I guarantee you there's somebody that wants what I have. I
Just
guarantee.
keep going. Yeah, just keep going. And and not intentionally allowing the very things that give you the anxiety to be a part of your life. So maybe not taking, maybe a couple hours before bed, not watching that scary movie,
Yeah.
that's going to scare the crap out of you and you can't sleep.
Yeah.
Getting to know yourself. So there were so many important tips you gave, Kristen, and I really appreciate it. So how can people get a hold of you
Sure.
online, and also what is the special gift that you have for people that may be listening that may want to learn more about themselves or learn how they can utilize the tips you mentioned in this podcast?
Sure. Um, So how do you get a hold of me? My website is Back to Self Care. So BACK, Back to Self Care is my website. That's a good way to get a hold of me on there. As far as, I am on TikTok, Self Care CEO. You're welcome to look me up on Facebook, Kristen Summers. I usually end up adding most people. I got like 4 requests just in the last 30 minutes, I feel like. But I always add people, and I always take the time to talk to people and get to know them and see how I can help them. Even if I can't, I will find you the resources to help you. I'll send you a link to a site, some things that have been beneficial for me on my end. So there's some good ways to get a hold of me. I will say, as far as the freebie goes, on my resources page, I have something called the self-care emergency checklist. That is when you're having a moment of anxiety. That's when you're having kind of a panic and you don't know where to go. I have a extended version of that. So I have one version, and those that reach out to me and say they want the extended version, I'll give you the extended version. And I have people that I know that have printed that out by their desk. And it is kind of a checklist of suggestions of things you can do. You can follow the checklist of how to ground yourself and come out of that anxious moment and back into the present. So that checklist is great when there is kind of a mental emergency and you can feel the anxiety. Like, hey, wait a minute, let's look at this checklist. Okay, wait, I can go outside and put my feet in the grass. Okay, it's cold right now, but you can still do it. It'd wake you up. Or you can, get up and move. Actually, movement is great of getting out of our heads. Essentially, that checklist is different ways we can get out of our head and into our bodies and back into the present moment. And that's how we make some real change. So I have an extended version. If anyone's interested in that, like I said, reach out to me. You can get the kind of the standard list on my resources page, which is back to self-care. Click the resources link up in the navigation. But if you want the extended, I have that to offer you as well.
And you also offer one-on-one coaching, and you also have courses on your website as well around anxiety and entrepreneurship, correct?
Yes, I do. So I have a couple different online courses. They are self-guided, but you're not alone. Anyone that purchases the course, I do reach out through phone or email while you're taking the course to see how you're doing. Because as you notice, I give a lot of information in this podcast. My courses are like that. And so I give lifetime access to those courses because I want you to go back and listen. I also want people to get the bang for their buck. I'm all about the value. So I have stuff on entrepreneurship. I have stuff on relationships. I have stuff just about the 5-pillar program in general. And what's great is that everything is inclusive. I do have a course tailored for women that want to talk about more of estrogen and just things that are a little more prominent for women or people who identify as women. And then I do have a self-care course for men that identify in that more masculine role. So I have that. I have one for entrepreneurs, and then I also have my sex vibe. So yes, I have at least 8 courses right now online for people. Like I said, self-guided, but when you sign up, I do check in with you, email or phone, because I want to know how you're doing with the information. With that, I usually ask people to take the course first and then do the one-on-one with me. So then they have the tools in the course, and then we go over them more extensively as basically a self-care accountability coach. So I have the online stuff, the course is there. I do the one-on-one stuff as well. And now I also work with businesses to do pop-ups, self-care business pop-ups. So I will technically go into a business, whether Zoom or in person, and do like a lunch and learn. And I will talk about empathy and self-care in the workplace, which is fantastic that more and more businesses are seeing the importance of self-care, taking care of yourself and how that affects your productivity. And they're seeing the importance of empathy in the workplace and kind of combating that toxic workplace culture that is very apparent during the pandemic. So I'm excited for that as well. So yes, I do offer a lot, but I love every freaking second of it. So, and I appreciate this time today. I really do.
I appreciate you contributing to my audience. Now, what are your final words? Oh, and before we get to final words, for a limited time only, if you're interested in one of Kristen's course, she's been generous enough to offer a discount.
Yes, a discount on that as well. So yes, I'm glad you said about that because yes,
the course, yeah.
On the course, yes, I am offering a discount for that as well. And I do offer that if you take the course and you want to do like a one-on-one with me, I do offer, if you've already taken the course, some people just do the one-on-one, but if I prefer you do the course first. So I give you the discount on the course. And then if you want to do the one-on-one, I come up with a pretty good basically payment plan, and kind of a discount on that as well. Because again, I want people to get the bang for their buck. And I'm not knocking other coaches, but I know some coaches, they charge a lot and they don't provide a lot of value. And I'm kind of the opposite. Obviously, I got to keep my lights on, but I do want people to know that by listening to this and signing up, there are some really great incentives. Like I said, the extended self-care checklist, the discount, like you mentioned, and there is also a discount with the one-on-one if you purchase the course through this podcast. So it's
so you have to mention the podcast to get the discount.
Podcast to get it. But please mention the podcast, and I know you will get this deal, because I'm not giving this deal just to everybody. Because then it would just be chaotic, I'm sure. But anxiety is something that I still deal with. It's never going to go away. It's not a part of me. It's just there. The voice is much quieter than it used to be, because it's used to being in the back seat and realize I'm not going to listen to it. But it really resonates with me, especially with why I was glad you brought me on about anxiety, because it definitely resonates with me. So those that especially know they have anxiety, know they have depression, and they want those tools, I'd be more than happy to help you.
Now, final words. If there was anything, just a final statement that you would tell folks as we close out this episode.
Yeah, I know I gave a lot, but I hope people at the end of this, I hope first of all and foremost, one thing I want you to take is that you deserve to feel good. You deserve to feel good. Anxiety is normal, 1000%, but you deserve to learn the tools to feel better, whatever works for you. A lot of people feel like they don't deserve it. I do publicly speak about the myths around self-care, about loving yourself, and they don't think they deserve it. They have to work themselves to the bone to get it. You deserve it just by being beautiful you and waking up and being a human being, just by being this gorgeous being that you are. You deserve it. You don't deserve it. Your worth is not defined by your productivity or how many kids you have or your degrees. Guess what? You just being this being in this human, you deserve it just as that. And so I hope you know that when you do take care of yourself, when you lead with love, hope you understand that you deserve it. But when you do, doors open, magic happens, and you deserve that type of magic. You deserve the type of life that you want. You deserve your all. You define what your all is, and just know that you deserve it, and you can very much have it, if not more. So I hopefully I've empowered people to take some step forwards with their anxiety, give them some good tips, and know that at the end of the day, they do deserve it, that they are worthy, and they have much more value than what they realize.
Awesome. Thank you once again, Kristen, for coming on. And I think this was just a wonderful episode. I hope that people will hear it, they'll resonate with it, and they will choose to, take some of your tips and take care of themselves. Absolutely. So with that being said, see you in the next episode.
Thank you so much.